Good evening, viewers. How's it going? Head full of voices, aka Jeremy, aka Casper, coming to you tonight to have a little bit of a conversation. Um, Once again, I'm doing this unscripted, so just bear with me. On top of that, I'm standing in my lovely little recording closet, and the more I do this, the more I realize saunas are made out of cedar too. I don't know if I have any viewers from Virginia, but if you are from Virginia, then you know that we've been going through 114-degree days with the heat index, and it's been dangerous as far as the heat goes. It's one of the reasons I haven't been in here recording at the frequency I'd like to record at. This is the fourth shirt I have worn today. Um, for those of you who do not live in Virginia, we have two modes in the summertime: raining and devil's swamp ass. Yeah, that's accurate. And that's what it's been. It's been like you walk outside and you get just slapped with a bucket of hot water, and yeah, there you go. Um, so the conversation I wanted to have with you guys. Um, for those of you following my channel, I know it's a moot point by now because it says right there, the voice actor's journey. But Head Full of Voices is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and let's be real, guys, I put it off. I'm taking accountability. I've got a lot going on in my day to day. I have touched on the fact that I am a father to a disabled son. Um, I have touched on the fact that I've got some other hobbies that actually bleed into this one, which is great because it finally feels like things are starting to come together. But this is something I've been meaning to get to, and for one reason or another, I just haven't. So, um, now it's just time to, quote Tallahassee and nut up or shut up. So, I'm a voiceling. For those of you not in the know, that means I am taking a voice acting course through the legend herself, Tara Strong. For those of you who do not know who Tara Strong is, she was the voice of Timmy Turner, Raven, Toots Brownstein on Drawn Together, Ben 10, Harley Quinn in the Arkham games. This woman is a legend, and she is, as I'm finding out, a much bigger part of my formative years than I realized. My brother and sister used to watch the Powerpuff Girls together, and she was Bubbles. You know, pardon me. I know that was, yeah, that's just how humid it is in this room right now. It's actually clearing my chest. Um, but Tara is just as big an influence on me as Richard Horvitz and Keith David. Recently, Blake Roman, Erica Henningsen, Erica Lindbeck, Brandon Rogers. All of these people are people I look up to. These are people that I see as um, peers, for lack of a better term. Um, and the reason I see them this way is because of the fact that I started doing something for myself that I'm actually proud of. And give me a sec. I've changed my outlook on life. If you were to talk to me 10 years ago, I would have told you I was being delusional, that I couldn't follow my dreams because I didn't have any dreams. And that would have been an out and out lie. I had dreams, but I had to put those dreams on hold. Um, yes, I'm a father, and I hear it all the time. Just because, you've got kids now, you take care of kids, you can't do this now because you have kids. That isn't true. I want you to stop and think about how many people in the entertainment industry, whether it be actors, voice actors, musicians, stage actors, um, that went into the field already having kids. They all had to start somewhere, granted, and this is my start, this is my jumping off point. But for you to look at somebody and say, oh no, put your dreams on hold, keep doing it, no, you've got kids now. What makes you think my kids aren't my driving force? Hmm? What makes you think I look at our position in life right now and I don't want better for my kids? As a father, as a good father, you always want better for your children. You give them what you can provide, but if you can build upon a talent, you can build upon your sense of humor, you can build upon something that would overall improve your situation in life, but bring entertainment to other people, possibly help somebody down the line, possibly inspire somebody down the line. Why listen to the haters? What's stopping you? I had to ask myself that question. And first and foremost, one of the things that was stopping me was 10 years ago, I still needed a lot of counseling. I've had a lot of death in my past. Um, I may have touched on it in a previous video, I may not have. Okay. But starting in 2008, my family started dying, it seemed like year after year. So, like, I lost my dad in 2008. And before anyone feels sorry, I know it sounds bad for me to say it, but I didn't know my father. My father willingly shut himself out of my life. And when I heard of his passing, I was numb. If I felt anything, I felt numbness. So that death really didn't affect me. What did affect me during that time was that I was going through a divorce, and the death of a relationship is still a death. In retrospect, that divorce wasn't necessarily a bad thing because I was in an abusive marriage. Um, I was a guy that was on a timeline. I could not visit my mother. I could not visit my grandmother. I could not visit my sister. I could not visit friends. And when it came down to me visiting relatives, I was on a time frame. My grandmother lived less than 20 minutes from where I was living with my wife at the time. And I was given a half an hour to hang out with my grandmother and sister. So it was better for me just to place a phone call, go out on the property somewhere, sit out under a tree because I would get more time with a phone call than I would get in person. That was just one of the issues. I'm not going to go over everything, but I will say she was also comparing me to her high school ex-boyfriend whenever she had a chance. And it was always, well, so and so wouldn't say this, and so wouldn't do that. And meanwhile, the whole reason she was even getting on me about that was because at that time I worked retail and I was on my feet for 8 to 12 hours a day. And if I came home and I just needed to relax, the first thing out of her mouth was, why didn't you bring back dinner? Or how come you're not washing the dishes? Well, I'm not washing the dishes because I spent 8 to 12 hours getting yelled at about phone bills or video late fees, or I was asked questions about why we didn't carry the newest Little John album, why we were out of Trapped in the Closet by R. Kelly, you know, uh, why didn't we carry death metal? We're in a conservative town. It's not like everyone's lining up to buy Dimmu Borgir albums. I mean, I had to special order mine. And that's what I dealt with, you know. Um, in 2011, my ex and I, we went through a stillbirth. My oldest son, Jack, he would have been 15 on the second. And he got caught up in his umbilical cord. So 5.5 months in, she ended up having to deliver him, and my son was 1 pound, 1 ounce. I still remember how devastated I was. I still feel it from time to time. But if you're not seeing the pattern is that I was trapped in the past. My past shaped me. My past made me. My past cut me, and my past scarred me. But I lived through it. I almost didn't. I almost didn't. And if I'm glad I failed at something in life, that's the one thing I'm really glad I failed at. I will never hold that over my own head. I was in the darkest place I'd ever been in life. And I didn't feel like I had anybody to turn to. So, but this is where creation comes in for me. This is where me being that kid that was always at the campfire ready with a ghost story, or that kid who can't draw to save his ass, but he would still have that sketch pad out and he would be sketching. This is where the storyteller in me comes in. And excuse me for reaching for this. Um, this right here. If you're looking, you read the name on that. A Labor of Love by Jeremy Patterson. I told myself I couldn't do that 10 years ago. 2 years ago, I proved myself wrong. I used to tell myself I wouldn't live to see 40. Well, as of January 6th, yes, it's unfortunate. I know. Shut up. But as of January 6th, I've proved myself wrong 4 years running. I've been reframing my outlook. I've been rewriting my own narrative. And now I'm doing something that I told myself when I was a kid I wanted to do, and now I'm doing it. I've got to get my start somewhere, like I just said, and it's going to take practice. It'll take hard work. People tell me to start preparing for disappointment. What do you mean, start? Um, I've been pushed to the side. I've been rejected. I've been told no. I've been told I'm not worth it. I've been told this so many times throughout my life that now it's just like, what? I'm not worth it? Yeah, fuck it. I'm going to Starbucks. I'm going to laugh at their coffee selections. Then I'm going to Dunkin' Donuts and I'm buying real coffee. Yeah, I'm that guy. Starbucks coffee tastes like somebody put out a cigarette in it. Dunkin' Donuts is better. I will die on that hill. Um, but yeah, yeah. So this is 13 minutes long, and I've been rambling in a hot box. Now we're getting into it at 13 minutes, 15 seconds, and this is the point I was trying to make. I have an original character. His name is Casper. Casper was originated when I was 16 years old. I have had him in my head for 28 years. That book I just showed you was me manifesting him into a story. Now, that story is fan fiction, but folks, fan fiction is what helped me start to change my outlook on life. Erica Lindbeck, who is a person that I am so hoping I get to work with one day. Her performance as Luna was the performance that made me start looking into my own background with new eyes, made me start using my character in a fan fiction where he is quite literally her childhood best friend who disappeared for 7 years. That's why we never see him on the show. It's because of the fact at that time he was either not around or he was busy with his own life. And here's a twist. I'll give the twist away right now. Every bit that you've seen on the show is canon. Why? Because there's two sides to every story, and this focuses on their lives off camera. They're still the same people with some nuances that make them a little bit different than what we're used to. Blitz, for instance, is a recovering alcoholic. Luna, B, and Vortex have a platonic relationship off camera, which is basically similar to a mentorship. And she doesn't realize the reason that she has this particular relationship with them is because they're protecting her. This is before Casper even comes into the story. Okay, the little bit about Luna's backstory off camera was inspired by the Me Too movement. Okay, I don't get into a lot of disgusting detail. I don't believe in that. I did dedicate the book to Erica, and I did, with Richard's help, at least get it off to her agent. I don't know if she's had a chance to read it yet, but respectfully, I'm not going to write something that's going to make her A, think I'm a creep, or B, traumatize her, C, make it so if we ever do get a chance to work together, she's going to be like, yeah, keep him in the booth on the other side of the studio. I'm not doing that. Okay? Um, but so those are the nuances. And then we get into Casper's backstory. Casper is a 24-year-old hellhound hybrid when you meet him. He is 5'9". He is cut like a gymnast. He's not a big guy, and he was treated like a freak when he was given up to the adoption center at birth. His left eye was damaged by an inexperienced doula. He was an at-home birth, and his parents were teenagers. Casper was born out of love, though, not lust, and his mother thought she was giving him a better shot by putting him up for adoption. She didn't know. She barely had a chance to see him when he was born. And Cass was born with blue eyes. Cass was born with coyote like markings. He was born with honey blonde hair and straight legs. Now, think about the average hellhound design on this show. And Casper is set so far apart from the other ones, it's not even funny. And he was in the adoption center, bullying him was actually encouraged. There was one member of the staff that didn't call him Quasi, and that was the nurse. One member of the staff. The kids called him Quasi, and if you know your Victor Hugo, you know where that comes from. If you don't, Quasimodo, which means partially formed. Okay? So he was treated like a freak, and he had to deal with this verbal abuse, physical abuse, other types of abuse until he was 9 years old when Luna finally shows up at the adoption center. And she's only about 8 months older than he is. Okay, so she's 10, he's still 9. He stands up for her. Literally, the minute she walks through those doors, he stands up for her because two disgusting older teenage orphans are making horrific remarks about her. And Casper's this quiet kid who's really smart. He's self taught. And he's doing what he likes to do. He's sitting on a bench and he's reading. And he puts the book down. And he walks up to Pugsy. And he walks up to Luther. And at the same time, with a quick hop and a double punch, right to the nuts, drops them both like a couple of bad habits. And he gets punished for it. So as he's dragged to his room by Evangeline Marbles, who is the hellhound from Seeing Stars, the one that says Luna is a lost cause, I gave her a name. He sits under his window and he wipes the blood from his ear because she twisted it so hard it started bleeding. And he looks out that window thinking he's a freak, thinking Luna is now somebody else who's just going to be afraid of him and leave him alone. And the only thing she had other than the clothing on her back when she was dropped off was a sketch pad and some charcoal pencils. And she's right in the middle of writing her name in there, looking around for him. And when she sees him, she holds up that drawing pad and it says Loona, and he realizes she's introducing herself to him. He breathes on his window, writes Casper. That's how they introduced themselves. We flash forward to when they're 16 and the adoption center is getting worse. Evangeline is embezzling funds, and the individual rooms they had have now been turned into storage rooms. The Human History Archive, which is something that the Hellhound pups were supposed to use to learn how to blend in with human society whenever they went up to Earth, has been locked up, and the only access to it is through a grate in the wall, which Casper and Luna find. This is how they bond through music, movies, comic books, and just being kids. That's their sanctuary. Okay, so now they have no access to this stuff. Now all of the hellhounds are stuck in separate cages where they're just stuck together. All right, and Casper finds a hole in his fence that's big enough for him to squeeze through and escape. This is their escape plan. He does that. He hops in the back of the laundry truck and he comes back with bolt cutters and he cuts her out. They leave. They start their own life at 16. That's what the plan was. And it goes great until it doesn't. Present day in the book, Casper is now working as a bounty hunter, a factory worker, and a vigilante. Reason being, when he was a vigilante, he found the people who shot him. That's what happened when the escape attempt went bad. He saw something he should not have seen and he got shot in his blind eye. These people were hellhound poachers. Hellhounds and imps are the bottom of the social hierarchy in hell. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Brandon Rogers who said hellhounds are actually the lowest of the low. They're just below imps. So, the common belief in the seven circles is if one goes missing, no big deal. If a dozen go missing, they can just make more. They're disposable anyway. And the only one who doesn't really believe that is Beelzebub because she is the mother of hellhounds. She's also Casper's adoptive mother. Vortex is his adoptive father. There's way more to that. I could tell you guys my entire story, but I'm not going to do that. This is Casper's backstory. Okay? So we've got this abused kid that makes friends with who we see to be the edgiest member of that cast, of that show. And we find out she was never that edgy, that it was exaggerated for the cameras. And off camera, she still has some of that edge, but she's not afraid to say, I love you. She's not afraid to show affection. She's not afraid to talk about things that are bothering her. She's not afraid to take accountability. She does that a couple of times in the prequel and the other book. And when Casper finally comes back into her life, they find each other again. She's nowhere near as angry as she was even off camera because her biggest mystery in life is answered. Why wasn't I good enough? Why did he leave me? And then she finds out it was never his choice. He didn't leave her. He made a mistake, and he paid dearly for it. And then he was lied to boot. Evangeline does tell Casper when he goes back to get her, almost a year after he's been shot, Luna chose euthanasia because he never came back. Her last words to Casper before she goes in that office is, Your best friend is dead because of you. How does that feel? Have a nice life. He's not even 17, or he's just barely 17 when this happens. And how does he feel? Everything reminds him of his best friend. Everything reminds him of the one person in life that he knew loved him just as much as he loved her. And he leaves hell. The prosthetic left eye is something I call the Orion device. He picked it out for him when he was in a coma because it matched his natural right eye. She didn't realize she was picking out military tech, and the person who got the eyeball for him and put it in his head thought she knew. It's a search and rescue device. It can manipulate electronics, it can cause hallucinations, it's got all sorts of different distraction protocols built in, but it also has a quick escape mechanism built into it, and that is the outer casing. The outer casing is highly polished Asmodean crystal. It's transparent. The eye looks natural. And so when Casper realizes he can do this, he opens a rift. He ends up in Scottsdale, Arizona for 3 years, living as a homeless teenager. He is a hellhound in disguise, living amongst humans. And it's during this time in his life he learns about humanity and duality. He learns that the most desperate people are the ones that are usually the ones that are the most willing to help out a kid in need. And at this time, this kid has a stutter and barely talks. Casper still has bullet fragments in his head, okay? And then it's the rich ones that wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire. It's the ones that go to church every Sunday but only hold those beliefs on Sundays. He learns human nature is one big gray area, and some people are worse than others. And this isn't what he learned when he was a kid. In the adoption center, the lesson was every human you see is a scumbag. And he has to unlearn all this stuff. And while he's doing this, he ends up protecting that homeless encampment that protected him. This is the start to him being a vigilante. And when he's brought back, he's got that experience under his belt, but he just wants to mourn in peace. He just wants to grieve his moonbeam, his best friend. But life won't let that happen. So he becomes a protector once again. He takes jobs, factory jobs, little things, janitorial or maintenance or whatnot. And his sole purpose is to learn the shifts of the workers who are there just working a job. And these people are unaware of the fact they are making hellhound based products: makeup, leather, soap, hair and nail tonic, and the biggest slap in the face, erection pills. Okay? You can laugh about that all you want, but take a look at the poaching trade in general, and all of those things you will find are real products in the poaching trade. You can go into Chinese medicine shops, or it used to be you could, right? Like out in Chinatown, there'd be this hole in the wall place, and they would sell stuff to you like powdered tiger penis or rhinoceros horn. That's a well known one, and they would claim it would boost your virility. So what we have here is a Viagra knockoff sold in gas stations that's made from hellhound adrenal gland. Not so funny now, is it? This is this is the battle that he's stuck fighting. And right in chapter one, he reunites with her. And so now all he can do is honor the fact he spent 7 years with his best friend buried in his head and heart, mourning. Now she's back in his life, and he gets this massive second chance. They both do. But now he has more drive to keep her safe, to keep his entire species safe. And that's where I'm going to leave you off. Because if I keep going at this in an almost half-hour long video, I'm going to give away my entire book. The reason I'm mentioning Casper to you guys, though, is he is my first original character. And I'm finally doing something with him. So, I believe some thanks are in order. Miss Tara Strong, we spoke briefly in Richmond at GalaxyCon this year. I don't think you'd remember me. I mean, you see a lot of people, but if you do remember me, we spoke about Teen Titans, and I told you about how I'm raising my boys on the original. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I promise, even though the equipment isn't so great and I'm sweating like a pig right now, I promise you, I'm going to give you some performances that will stick with you. And I mean that in the best possible way. Richard Horvitz, you've already said you don't really do much social media, but I do know you're friends with Tara, and maybe there's a chance She might show this to you, and that's a big maybe, but you did something for me this year, back in March, despite not knowing me. You owed me nothing, sir, and yet you validated me. You humanized me. And as somebody who's regularly felt dehumanized through his life, um, it meant the world, sir. All I can say is thank you, and I hope our paths cross again because I'd like to shake your hand and just catch up, you know? Erica Lindbeck, again, I don't know if you'll see this, but I want to thank you for being the inspiration for me writing a book, which I am going to flat out admit it saved my life. Um, the losses were starting to pile up, and I felt myself regressing. And if it hadn't been for the episode Seeing Stars and the scene where Luna is in the adoption center in that pen, and if I hadn't clocked those tally marks and asked myself, what if they meant more than just her counting down the days until she aged out? The life and crimes of Casper Colton would have just still been a pipe dream. Um, I can thank so many more people, but it's this is almost a 32-minute long video, and I don't want to keep you guys any longer than I have to. So expect bigger and better things from me. I'm not putting pressure on myself. I'm making a promise to myself, and I intend to keep that damn promise. Much love to you guys. I'll be back on here when I'm back on here, and hopefully the humidities aren't killing me. All right, guys. Good night.